this may sound like kind of an odd thing to say, but one of the better decisions I ever made come to social media was to generally stop responding directly to what others say on various social media accounts. That's regardless whether we're talking initial posts or whether we're talking about responses to things that people say. Hello, this is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Tuesday, the 14th of December of 2020. Glad to have you aboard this morning, whether you're coming aboard on Rumble, on the podcast, or on YouTube. Welcome. Today, the subject of my what I'm going to do today is called a dark path, and it seems like a sort of an odd name, but I want you to understand some things that are really significant. Okay, first of all, I want to say that if something that I'm going to do in response is not going to be harmful, if it's going to be more or less an innocuous response, my tendency is to just go ahead and make the response and to assume that everything's going to be okay when it's on social media. But if there's any time when I think that the response is going to evoke particularly emotional outbursts or similar things from other individuals, regardless whether it's the person to whom I'm talking or someone else, I will not respond to them directly. That's something that I just won't do these days. Another thing, right, about all of this. Okay, so again, here's what we're talking about. You're on social media. You see that somebody said something on social media. The thing that they said makes you want to respond to them. You start to respond and you think to yourself, wow, if I respond to this, the reaction that I'm likely to get from that response is not, from how I reply is not going to be good, right? So one thing that I've tended to do is I have a blog, and I haven't been active on it like I should be recently. Instead, I've been doing videos. What can I tell you? But I have a blog, and when people say things on social media, I have a tendency to respond to what they say on the blog. Well, the videos have also helped me to deal with that same sort of thing as well. So it's not that the videos are harmful. They're doing the same sort of functionality in certain regards and in certain ways as well, right? But the point is, in general, I don't respond directly to people, particularly if I think that it's going to be viewed, what I say is viewed as incendiary, or frankly, if they've already done something that's flaming someone, right? I don't respond. And one of the things that allows for is it makes it so that if I don't respond directly, I have to actually put something together myself, and that forces me to think out my response. And this is really, really significant. You wouldn't think it was as important as it is, but it is. If you don't sit down and think about how you're going to respond to whatever it is that you're responding to, you may respond in haste, and in the end is not going to be pretty. How many people have said in the course of time, I wish I had thought to say this? Well, the answer is, don't wish you had thought to say that. Think to say that. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to you. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to upset people. What I'm saying is, instead of actually responding immediately to what somebody says, take the time, think it through, decide what you're going to do. And here's one of the things that happens for me personally, is when I respond to things on social media, it makes me, if I respond directly without thinking about it, I don't get to the root of things. But if I take the time to think about things, I go, wait, that isn't really the problem here at all. Here's the problem over here that they're not even thinking about or looking at. Right? This happens a lot to me. So the point is, it helps me get to the base things that really need to be talked about, that are really the subjects of concern or consideration. And if I don't take the time, if I don't walk away, stop and think, what will end up happening is I will talk about these things that other people are concerning themselves with, and they're not really the things that need to be talked about. They're just not. The things that need to be talked about are things that are different, and you start looking at what they're saying and you go, that isn't what's important here. Here's what's important here, right? So that's an important consideration as well. The thing is, for me personally, the whole flame wars path is what I titled this piece, A Dark Path, because I'm really pretty good at arguing. I'm really pretty good at arguing. I can sit and I can argue things with people, and I can make people feel just plumb stupid, right? And at times I can do that in ways where those individuals decide that they're just really never going to listen to me again or whatever as a result. I'm good at arguing. I found this out when I was young. I found out that I could figure out ways to topple people, to knock them off balance. And the result with that is that those people would feel belittled as a result of what I was doing. That's bad. Yes, it's true I can win the argument for the moment. But in the long run, it's not about winning the argument. It's about trying to understand where other people are and help them to get to better places. The problem is it's too easy when you're dealing with things from a tit for tat sort of a perspective, from a perspective where they say something and you say something and they say something. It's too easy to respond to folks in ways that are just designed to get a rise out of them or to belittle them or to put them down or whatever. That, to me, is a dark and unnecessary way to respond to others. The way you need to respond to others is actually try and make a more successful world for yourself and for those others. It is to try to build people up. It is to try to make yourself and make other people better. And I mean that in a variety of ways, right? I don't just mean that from a perspective of, sometimes it's looking at what they're saying and actually picking out of what they're saying the things that are real, meaningful, worthwhile, and things that you should be listening to, right? But the point is, if somebody says something and you've got the trap all baited and you slam the jaw down on their leg as they're trying to escape, that's not a way to deal with people for the most part. The way to deal with people for the most part is to take the time to look at what people are saying, to understand what's basic to what is being considered, and to talk to those people, recognizing what it is that is a problem for them. And that includes looking at what's really the base of what they're saying as well, right? It's not just about what's basic to you, but it's about what probably should be basic to them and what they ought to be considering as well, what ought to be important to them. So the point is, if you're looking at social media and going, I need to respond to that, my suggestion to you, and I've said this before in other things that I've put out there, step back, take a little time to think about it, really consider what it is that you want to say. Don't just do a gotcha, because I'm not saying that that's never an okay thing. I think generally a gotcha is a good way to make people think about what it is that they're doing. I don't think you should just use a gratuitous, aha, I figured it out, you didn't, or whatever. I think what you need to do is ask questions, get to the heart of things, really think about what it is that you're dealing with, what the other person is dealing with. Try to understand them even when they're talking to you in heated ways. I know that people will come off sounding like they're upset and disappointed, and they may be. I know that people will say things that are untoward and improper, and that's just reality. I'm going to say the thing that's been said before. With all of that, your response, how you need to deal with that is going to be to be the measured, reasonable, tempered voice in the room. And I know that there are people who say that way of doing things is dead and gone. Let me just tell you something. Maybe I'm mistaken. I don't think so. I don't think that day is ever dead and gone. I don't think that person will ever die, except, of course, when people flame them and do various things that make it so that they can't talk and do what it is reasonably. But this is why I try very hard to be very measured in what I say when I do my videos and on other platforms. All right, I'm about out of time, so I'm going to call it a day today in terms of my recording. Today is Tuesday, the 14th of December, 2020. Sorry, Tuesday, the 14th of December, 2020. Tomorrow will be Wednesday, the 15th of December of 2020, and I'm going to try and do a video again tomorrow, another daily summation then. But in the meantime, I'm cold. I don't know about you, but I'm cold. In my little neck of the woods, that's how it is. We've still got ice on some of the roadways, very mild stuff, nothing big. And it's cold. And I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're keeping warm. Not too warm, obviously, but I hope you're keeping warm, and I hope everything is going well for you. And hopefully we will see you again tomorrow. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Tuesday, December the 14th of 2020. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S. .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.